Our next Reddit post is from Throwaway. I live in an apartment building with a family next door. They've got cute kids, but I'm 24 and I am not looking to watch them. Several times now, the mother has knocked on my door with her kids and asked if they can come in while she runs errands. She's not a single mother, and she's never offered to pay me. Last time, I decided to grow a pair and say, sorry, not tonight, I have a lot of work to do. This woman peeks her head into my doorway and says, come on, you're just hanging out. I won't be long. Then she said goodbye to her kids and was off before I could argue. At least pay me, Karen. I'm such a pushover that when I was at Target the other day, I bought a board game for the next time this happens. My lease is up in a few months, and this might be the reason that I don't renew. OP, you've got a hell of a lot more patience than I do, because if someone tried to pull that with me, I would immediately call the cops to report some abandoned children. Our next Reddit post is from Target Spots. Years ago, when The Dark Knight Rises had just been released, my boyfriend and I went to see the trilogy at the cinema. I'm a teacher, and in the row behind us were about 6 of my A-level students. We had a great afternoon, and we had watched Batman's Begins and The Dark Knight with no problems. My boyfriend had gone to get free refills of popcorn and Coke, so I was just chilling playing a game on my phone waiting for the final film to begin. Enter entitled dad with his 2 kids in tow. He said to me, rudely and loudly, "You're in my seat!" This instantly pissed me off, because he could have said excuse me or been slightly polite. You know, like a normal human being. The great thing about this situation is I knew that I was in the right and he was in the wrong before I even opened my mouth. Without even glancing up from my phone, I said, "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are. This is my seat number. You're in our seats." "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are. This is my seat." I sigh and finally look up. "No, I'm not. Can I see your ticket, please, sir?" I find that being saccharine sweet to entitled dads really annoys them. The entitled dad shoved his ticket in my face with a self-satisfied grin of triumph on his face. I should mention at this point that my students behind me had stopped eating popcorn and were avidly watching to see how the scenario would play out. I look at his tickets. "Ah, here's your problem, sir. Your seat is screen 2. This, unfortunately, is screen 1. The entitled dad snatched his tickets back and stormed off to the hysterical laughter of 6 teenagers as I shouted after him, "No need to apologize, sir. Happy to help. We all make dumb mistakes." So anyways, I enjoyed that exchange, and I thought that you guys might like it too. The thing is, if he had just been polite in the first place, he wouldn't have humiliated himself or his poor kids. Our next Reddit post is from the trans man with a plan. The title of this post is, "I wouldn't pay my fiance's mother $5,000, so she ruined my life, and now I'm homeless." This story is extremely hard for me to tell because I'm still feeling the effects of it. However, I feel like I need to because this story features the most entitled parent that I've ever met in my entire life. This is the story of how my life has been ruined because, like the title states, I refused to pay my fiance's mother $5,000. It started out simple enough. In August of 2019, when my fiance and I were dating, my parents wanted me to leave the house because they couldn't passionately hug as often as they wanted. They told me this in a very abrupt manner and expected me to leave fairly quickly, giving me no time to prepare. My fiance kindly asked his mother, who he was staying with, if I could live with him long enough for us to get an apartment together. He stressed to her that it would be difficult for us to get an apartment ourselves just starting out, and that while we could cover all the monetary expenses, we would still most likely need a co-signer. She promised both me and him that if we couldn't qualify for an apartment by ourselves, she would co-sign for us. So I moved from Illinois to Florida to be with my fiance. Within a week of me being in the house, my fiance's mother made our lives a living hell. Despite me landing a job within a week and having to work late nights for that job, she would come into the living room each morning at stupidly early hours to tell us we had to do something productive. Meanwhile, she would just go back to bed and sleep until 9 a.m. She would complain that we weren't cleaning the dishes that we had used to make a deal that we had just made and were still eating. She would gaslight and pick petty fights with my fiance, then play the victim like a true narcissist. It got so bad that a few weeks in, we decided to rent a hotel room for the weekend just to get away from her and have some alone time. We had our new apartment picked out anyway. All we had to do when we got back was sign some paperwork and we'd be away from her, right? Wrong. After the weekend, my fiance's mother drove us back to her house. On the drive back, she sprung something on me. She wanted us to pay her $5,000. For context, my fiance was going to be receiving a $9,000 medical settlement a few months from that point. Before he met me, he told his mother that if he was still single, he would give her $5,000 towards a trailer they would both own and live in together. Since my spouse and I were dating, and were very serious at the time, this was extremely confusing that she would demand this. My fiance tried to explain to her that he had only promised to give her this money if he was single. She was having none of that and attempted to gaslight him about it. When that didn't work, she turned to me and requested that I pay her $5,000. I only had about $5,000 in my bank account, so I couldn't do that and pay to rent an apartment at the same time. When she realized that she couldn't squeeze blood from a stone, my fiance's mother finally declared, "Well, I guess you don't have a co-signer then." With my fiance being on Social Security due to injuries that left him disabled, and me making minimum wage, her refusing to co-sign on our apartment essentially left us without any housing options. Florida requires applicants to make 3 times the price of rent in any given place, and the rent in our area is very high. Finding a roommate situation that accepts couples is nearly impossible. My fiance's mother's behavior worsened. With nowhere to go, we jumped ship and moved to a local hotel. But after 3 months, we had completely drained our finances. We then couch surfed with some of my friends' acquaintances, but a lot of them weren't good people, and we were used and stolen from several times. We ended up sleeping in the deep freezer of an abandoned Hooters until the building was almost torn down on us by construction workers one day. After that, my fiance's mother bought us a tent. How nice of her. And we ended up living in the woods while I tried to hold down my job. We've been homeless on and off for 2 years now. I've been assaulted twice because being homeless has put us in dangerous and unsafe conditions. I've witnessed someone almost shoot my spouse. My fiance's mother didn't care. It even seemed like she enjoyed watching us suffer. Finally, in early 2020, when we were practically begging on our knees, my fiance's mother co-signed for an apartment. It was a 2-bedroom model that we couldn't afford, but she insisted it was that or nothing. Then, after everything was finalized, she told us that we couldn't have roommates. We had to try to keep ourselves afloat during the pandemic, something that ruined my finances more than they already were. When our lease ended in April, my fiance's mom insisted that she fulfilled her promise, so she had no obligation to help us, even if that action consigned us to the streets again. We're homeless again now, and she continues to lie about us to the rest of the family, saying that we ruined the apartment, and saying that's the reason that she won't co-sign for us again. I found out recently that refusing to co-sign and watching our finances dwindle was very much intentional on the mother's part. A while back, his mother went to a family get-together. According to a family member, she calmly said, "Let's see how much money that F-word has when I'm done with her."